CTA. I have my little blurb up there. So, you know, if you ever want to have a free home buying or selling discovery session with me, it's absolutely free. And it's always good to know how much your house is worth. Where do you want to go if you feel like downsizing? And this is exactly what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
So we like to talk about, and I actually had that question posed to me not too long ago. And I'm sure with their finances too, people who are in that, not necessarily ready, but in that mode of thinking about retiring and possibly downsizing, what to do financially. So we'd like to share some options and some ideas with you today. So if you're in that kind of mindset, then stay tuned.
Yeah.
A couple of things.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that we're going to talk about. So it's downsizing and retirement options. So you know, one of baby boomers are becoming senior citizens at rate of 1 every 8 seconds. So that's something to think about, right?
They're still the largest generation currently.
They're still the largest generation. And what happens is, I just wanted to clarify that the description of senior citizen is 65 years old. There are some companies and also the government that also says that at 55 you're a senior because you can take early retirement if you like, but it's not everywhere. So the definition goes at age 65, so you know that. And we're going to talk about another generation that is very, very important, that is linked to this, which is the sandwich generation.
Which is not like a Gen X and Gen Y sort of thing.
It's kind of a blend.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's a made up thing. It's actually, you can Google sandwich generation, what that means.
Yeah.
So basically what a sandwich generation means is that you are sandwiched in between. So I'm a sandwich generation.
Mm-hmm. So why?
For example, yeah, because I have kids that are younger that I still care for. And I have parents that are aging, and, you know, knock on wood, they don't need my help yet, but there, you know, lots of people in my age group that, thank God, my parents are healthy and everything is good. But there are lots of people that do care for their younger children and their their aging parents. So that you're sandwiched in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
which is tough, right?
It is very tough. So the sandwich generation right now, it is people that are ages between 45 and 64. And as you can see, between the ages of 45 and 64, you have maybe teenagers, maybe sometimes younger kids,
or maybe older kids,
or maybe older, right?
Yeah.
But right now, the younger generation are requiring more and more financial assistance from their parents, whether they want to live at home or they need some assistance to buy a property, or there's many, many things that is happening.
Or they come back. They come, like I've heard this many times too, where the kids go off to school, university. I mean, with COVID, it's not that much, but or they're staying at home longer. So, and with even kids in their 20s and 30s, can I even say that?
Yeah.
So that's just something that is kind of funny too, because when you look at other countries or other cultures, that's very normal for all the generations to live together in one house. So it's only the North American kind of philosophy that once you hit a certain age, you're out, right? So that's really not that typical in a lot of cultures. So to me, if my kids stick around and live with me, I'm happy about it. That's totally fine. I don't think I'd ever live with my parents, or my parents would ever live with me, just because economically they're fine. But I know a lot of people that don't just move in for financial reasons, but because they need the care.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's, go ahead.
So one of the things that is happening is that because of the both stresses, so now you're sandwiching between the two. You have to spend some time caring for your parents and some caring for your children. So the one thing that we just want to come and I like to tell people is, if you're still not in that situation, just figure out if you are going to be, like, if you have siblings, but they are away. So talk to them about, if you do. If you're single child, then well, that is totally your responsibility. But also see do you have both parents? Are they healthy? What are kind of their wishes? Where do they live? Do they live far from you?
Right.
Or do they live close by? So there's all a sorts of questions that need to happen just
Well,
to kind of decide what you're going to be doing in the
right.
future for care.
So that's the other thing too, that when we were talking about this before, I thought, you know what, this is really interesting because there's a lot of people that don't have children. So I have a very
Yeah.
good friend who never had children. So she is very financially secure. She has a great place in the city. But she's 65 and she's told me, what do I do? What's my next move? Like, I want to start thinking about
Mhm.
moving or retiring or downsizing, but I'm not sure what my options are.
Mhm.
So this is another thing too, that and as an older generation, somebody who's in that generation where they don't have kids, or they do have kids and they don't want to tell them or
Mhm.
have that decision made as a family. If they want to make their decision for themselves, either as a single person or as a couple, that's really up to you, pretty much, right? What you want to
Yeah.
decide, how you want to decide what your retirement is going to look like. So this is what I really like. We didn't plan this. What I really like about Araceli and my background, it's very different. So she's
Mhm.
very city and I'm very country.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been hearing a lot. So because of COVID too, I've been hearing a lot of people saying, I'm going to rev up my retirement time. The finances are good. If I sell my house right now, it's a great time to sell your house because prices are going crazy. So not only can they take that money and maybe buy something outside of
Mhm.
the city. So this is what my friend wants to do, actually. She wants to go out to Owen Sound because she has a friend there, and she likes the lifestyle, and it's near water and it's beautiful, quite honestly. So this is something that she doesn't necessarily want to buy a house, but she wants to think about what's the next move? What do I do? So we've written down a couple ideas for you. So one is age in place. Obviously, you can have your house renovated or your property renovated to suit your needs as you get older.
Mhm.
Chairs are not great. We see those old fashioned, the chair lifts that go along the.
Yeah, some of the stuff is not very appealing, but
No, it's not, and it's very expensive too. So this is another thing too, that some houses too can't be retrofit with these stair
mhm.
things. So, and let's say if you want to put an elevator in, again, very, very expensive. So it might not be an option for you. Might just be easier for you to sell the house and buy a condo.
Mhm.
And then you don't have to worry about lawn, you don't have to worry about maintenance. It's all done for you. There's an elevator. You're still close to all amenities. Like, this is something that, works for a lot of people.
Yeah. Another option that people are doing, Colette, is now uh, children are actually moving with their parents
Yes.
to have a bigger home, because
Yes.
you will help each other basically. So
Absolutely. And I
the,
love that idea.
the children will have less expenses, and the parents will have somebody that is living with them, and just be on the lookout to see if there's anything that is going to happen. So the
Yeah.
two of them. So if you have a bigger house and you're thinking about retiring, or maybe one of your kids want to move in with you and
Right.
help you out.
Well, that's very, very interesting because I know they've been doing this in Europe for many, many
Yeah.
years, in different parts of Europe too, where they purposely build new houses this way. So you have one floor for the parents, one floor for the kids.
Hmm.
And then when stairs get too hard for the parents, they flip. And then their older kids get to move, or even if there's a basement, if there's a 3-unit building, that
Hmm.
it's all within the family and they all pay for it. Like, they all share in
Yeah,
the
the
payment.
expenses.
Right, because like when I'm gonna pass away, what do you think is gonna happen to my house? It's gonna go to my kids. So they might as well live in it if they feel like it, if they want to enjoy the house
Hmm.
now. So this is all these things that, there's lots of options. And I know a lot of people don't think of their finances when they do something like this. There's also another thing which I just read in the Toronto Life magazine, which I thought was fantastic. There was a couple that had a house in Toronto, and they actually had one of those laneway garages.
Hmm.
They converted it into a living space and they
Okay.
let their daughter live there, and she has a mortgage on it.
Oh, wow.
So really, if it costs them whatever, let's say $300,000 to renovate that
Hmm.
garage to an actual house, it's not cheap. But where? Tell me where can you even buy a condo for $300,000 in the city? Not going to happen. So this is the thing. If you don't like your parents, please talk to them. It's only to your best interest if like you really get back. That's what happens. Families fall out, right? But for finances, it doesn't hurt. I know it's all a joke, but you know what I'm saying? Like really, if you are struggling to find a place to live, and there is a way to do it. I hear about people putting granny. I think they're called granny suites.
Granny suites, yeah.
That's another idea. I don't know if people really want to do that, but it's a small property. It's like if you have enough land in your backyard to do this, and they put like a little whatever size bedroom and a bathroom sort of unit, one floor. It's all ground floor.
Yeah.
And you have the plumbing and electrical and everything they need, but they're at least separate than the house.
Yeah.
And the kids get to live in the house, and the parent is still there, and they can help with daycare. They can help with, especially with COVID. I want my parents close. I want to visit them, right? Anyway, so that's another idea.
Another thing that is becoming very popular is tiny homes.
Yes.
Which they also could be added to a large property. Or now I believe that the government is starting to put places that you can park your tiny house.
Yes.
Or you can rent that space so you can put your tiny house. So
yeah. So
that's why it's becoming popular.
Yeah, the difference between tiny house is more of a mobile thing that you.
Not in all cases. In some cases it is mobile, but most times it's just in place. You just build a smaller house.
About plumbing and electrical, like they either have like an outside kind of propane tank that's attached to it, or plumbing might have to be creative. But yeah, so all these things, really look at your municipality too, because a lot of them don't allow it. So whatever you do, like we're not telling you don't get permits for this stuff. Always, what's allowed and get the proper permits. But the other thing too is retirement communities. So there are lots, and I think that it's kind of a misconception that people think there's a stigma, like, oh, only old people live there. And I know with COVID, they've had a really rough time with the spread and this is like the long-term care facilities. But the retirement communities I'm talking about, or you still have your separate units or even a separate house in some cases. And it's like a little neighborhood. And they're all over Ontario. So it's really, or a condo. Could be a condo that's only for adult living. That's what it's called. So if you're still in good shape and you really just want a community, because seniors get lonely too, right? So you have this nice community of the same people your age. You get to, do the thing with this, whatever you want to do with this community. I don't want to say like only old people play cards.
They have clubs. They actually do. Yes. They have clubs to do a lot of things. Like they can go shopping, they can go golfing. There's lots of activities in some of the retirement communities. They have a pool that you can have classes.
Right.
Lots and lots of activities. That doesn't mean, most people, like you said, have a stigma that in retiring, you're not doing anything. But I believe it's the opposite.
Oh my gosh.
Because now you have more time. So what are you going to do with your time? You got to do something, right?
Right. And you might you might not want to be so alone and saying, like, where are my friends? All my friends are dying. They live too far. So it's actually retirement community is a really great idea. And they're usually in, like you said, combined with something so close to a golf course, or, they have facilities that you don't have to cook. You don't have to clean. They do everything for you. There's like a maintenance fee, let's say, attached, and they come in and do all this stuff for you, because really, like even at my age, I don't want to clean anymore.
No, Who does?
I want somebody to do that for me.
For sure.
So, exactly. So it's really, what kind of lifestyle do you imagine yourself living? And if it's something that you just want to travel, if you're in such good shape, you sell your big house, you buy a smaller condo close to, in the GTA, if you're close to the airport, that's a great scenario. That's my plan. That's what I
what I want to do too.
Yeah, and then
For
just
sure.
have my little place to land if when I come home and I want to, just stay whenever. And obviously, because of COVID, you can't end up somewhere
Mhm.
indefinitely if you can't afford it. But these are all the questions that the main thing, the first thing you have to discuss is your finances.
Yeah.
So before making any moves, you got to talk to Araceli.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
So, so the other thing that we wanted to talk about it is what to do when you see that your parents are just not coping well with the living arrangements that they have.
Right.
If you are caring for parents that are older, that they are experiencing either some kind of illness, or they, even now dementia is something that is huge with seniors.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be a physical thing, but it can be something that they need more, take care of their medications, or they don't know where they are. Maybe they want to go out and they get lost. So there's a
Right.
lot of things like that that can happen. And if they are not close to you, one of the solutions might be just to sell the property and move them in with you if you have enough space,
Right. Right.
or buy a property in where the two of you can live, or closer to you, a condo that is closer so you can just go and monitor it.
Yeah, and you know what? That's actually my neighbor's doing that. So I have a
Mhm.
neighbor who is selling their house, and they're building a house with it with so it's all I haven't seen the plans of the house, but how I understand it is that there is a suite just for them, and there's common spaces that, like, let's say they both
Yeah.
have their independent kitchens, so it's almost like two separate units,
Mhm.
but at least they're together and they can see each other and they can interact when they
Yeah.
want to, but still have that separation,
Yeah.
the freedom to do whatever the other party wants. So this is ideal if even if your parents are not in bad shape, it's something to think about for the future. So
Mhm.
whoever is looking at homes to purchase or renovate, this is something that even if you go to sell it later on, this is always a really great idea to think about it when you're building it or renovating. So, like, small things like renovating to have a stove plug somewhere. You can hide it. Obviously, it doesn't
Mhm.
have to be active before, but things like that where you can sort of plan out the space before you need it.
Mhm.
So you know it's there. So, like me, I renovated my basement a few years ago. I made sure I put a sink
Mhm.
and, the plumbing for a
Yeah.
sink and the wiring for a stove. So if I ever needed a basement apartment, I could do it easily. Guess what happened? I'm doing it now.
Mhm.
So these are the things that I'm so happy that you have that foresight to do these things. That's
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
Yeah, having options is critical. The same, if your house is big and you have a basement that you can have either a friend, if you don't have children, to
Right.
move in with you and take care of it. Like, you can make an arrangement to look after your some of your needs,
Right.
in lieu of making a payment or making less of a rent payment.
Right.
So there's lots and lots of options that you can do, but it all comes down to finances. So what is it that you can afford,
But
right?
also, what
Because
what do you it's all about your lifestyle. And what do you want? Do you want the pressure of having to pay
yeah,
that mortgage for the rest of your life, or do you actually want to pay it off?
hmm
And right now, see, this is a big argument too that I have with people because they think, oh my gosh, why would I pay off my mortgage? The interest rates are so low.
yeah, but you're still paying interest on a large amount of money.
That's right. Right. So this is the thing that if I still want to say if you can put down more on a house, then do
hmm
it. But also at the same time, you have that house now that you can use as collateral to buy
hmm
another property. So
Yeah,
this
and
is the
at the same time, if you decide to do this with your children, you can put both names in the house, which at when you pass on, it'll be easier for them to acquire the property and continue on with the
exactly.
mortgage. And
Yeah.
if they already have a suite built in, they can either rent it or use it for their children when they grow.
Absolutely.
So
Right, right, absolutely. Or to for their kids, like
yeah,
when their kids get older, then they can take over. That's the thing, like it's really I'm always a big proponent of options.
yeah,
We don't know COVID was coming.
No.
know when it's going to go. So to be financially secure, feeling like there's somebody, you always need a place to live. That is a no-brainer, whether it's a tent or a small house
Or a
or a big
mansion.
house. Yeah, it's really, we still need shelter. And that's one of the things that, of being a human being, this is something that we need, and we need that comfort behind it. So to protect your family, to protect your own finances and financial future, this is the thing that everybody says, this is my biggest asset, but it can also be a liability. So
Exactly. So
don't let it be a liability.
so let's talk about the finances, because that is very important. Sometimes people shy away from it, but when you take control of it, believe me, it gives you the freedom to have options, to say, well, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this. And that is what is most important. That's what I give my clients. I give them options, what they want to do.
Right.
And that is the most important thing that you can have when you control your finances. So
right. And really dream big too, because if you say, well, you know what, in a couple of years, or hopefully this year it'll be over, but in a couple of years I want to semi-retire, let's say. And my kids are okay. They're all squared away, and my parents are still okay. They don't need me now. I want to travel. So what do I do? So do I take the equity out of my house and, either rent it or partially rent it, or do I sell it and then go off and do what I want to do?
Yeah, but you also have to look at the other sources of income that you have, right? Like, do you have a pension? Are you already collecting the government benefits? Do you have any other source of income or rental income? Right. So there's lots of things that you need to consider, because sometimes you don't even have to touch your house. Maybe you can sell a portion of it and, use the other portion to use when you need it. Right. And because you have other sources of income, then you don't need to touch it.
Well, and I want to go back to that, where we know real estate is very expensive in the GTA right now, but buying with even another family member is amazing. And I just heard from someone we both know that they bought an income property with sisters. So it's possible to do it. It's really something that, it's not just about how much rent can I generate, but it's also the growth of the actual product. So just like a stock, when you buy stock, it should go up. And real estate is one of those things, knock on wood, so far it's been very, very healthy, the growth of real estate in the GTA year over year. So when you think of when you look at historical things, when you talk to your clients about that too, to say, where should I put my money? I have this money now. What do I do? Where do I invest? So this is something that, don't think that you have to only buy on your own. There are many people that want to get into the real estate market, don't have the funds, but they're close. And they decide to buy. I keep hearing stories too about people buying cottages together and sharing the summer. It's a long summer, to have a property. You don't need to take all the care and all the expenses of fixing it up and all that stuff. If you have good friends, if you have a few family members that want to have a family cottage, why not?
Yeah, it's all about relationships and options. Talk about your friends and your family and see what you can do, because now with the prices in the GTA, it's a lot harder, and people are looking more and more to do home sharing.
Right. And outside. Yeah.
So the options of having this granny suites or second suites, it's really becoming big. A lot of contractors are doing that. Even new buildings are doing that already as a new building. So there's lots and lots of options. So this is what we wanted to talk to you about it. So if you are in the sandwich generation, which is between 45 and 64, and you're you're having financial difficulties because, you don't have enough hours in the day to take care of your parents and your children. Maybe your work is suffering. Maybe you have to take some work time off.
Or your health
sometimes your health also suffers.
Yeah.
So take care of that. Talk to me if you have any questions about, what options you have and what to do if you are in that situation. We can have a larger conversation.
We've only touched the surface today.
Yes.
to give you some kind of idea, or you know, to give you a little bit of hope out there that
Yeah.
there are options. And sometimes a house, when you look at your house, you can't imagine how you could renovate it to suit a second suite, or to have other people, you know, rent portions of your house. There are lots of options. So this is the thing that both of us will, you know, you could call me. Actually, Araceli has a background in renovating too. So that's something that really we're not, you know, yes, of course I want to sell your house. Of course I do. But if it's something that I can help you in the interim before you have to sell, because it's really not about me, it's about you. So this is a service that I do for people too, which I just come in the house and say, okay, look, it is possible. This is what the rents are, you know, generally speaking for the area. You could get this much rent. Contractors, we do have contractors that we like to work with. We can set you up with them. Honestly, you know, I wish I charged a fee for all this, but I really don't. So
Yeah, I
it's
know.
yeah, it's only something that, you know, I do for the people that I know, hoping that one day they'll refer me, or they'll, you know, come back to
Yeah.
me. Same thing with Araceli. If she can't help you, she'll put you in the she'll point you in the direction of who can help you.
Yeah, we have a lot of referral partners that can help us with many different things, whether it's a mortgage or a renovation,
Exactly.
um, anything like that. But it goes back down to finances always,
Plan,
right?
plan, plan, plan.
Yeah, the plan, it's a little bit, it takes time, like any
It does.
plan, right? But if you do take the time to do it, believe me, it will pay off, and you will have the options that you want, and you will know what the future is going to look like.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. We don't want anybody to feel like they don't know what to do.
yeah,
That's the
exactly.
stress just of that alone. You can alleviate that stress. You know, really, nobody should live like that. And it doesn't take a lot of money. That's the funny thing. You don't really what's that bank that says you don't know how much money you have? You may realize that you have a lot of equity in your home. You may have a lot of equity that the bank will allow you to use for renovation. So these are all things that it's all about information. That's what we're here for.
So just do a financial analysis with, if you're deciding to do something with your home, you know, we can work together with Colette and come up with a couple of options. So you do this, this is what it'll look like. And if you do this, this is what it will look like. So that's basically what it is. So we're here to help. And with that, please send us your questions. We are always here to help and try to answer everything that comes along our way. So we will see you next week, and have a fantastic week.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Thanks for coming.
Bye.